Okay, now we should be good. It says it's going live.
Live now.
Usually it comes up, but yes, you should be good now.
Okay, we'll call this meeting to order. It is 6:50 p.m. First on the agenda is the public hearing for a variance request. P&Z's already heard this. This is a non-conforming use request for a variance for property owned by Julio Robles, located at 420 East Rabbit Cove Road, in West Tawakoni, Texas. The legal property ID number 79313.
Can y'all hear it now?
Yes.
Look, speak up.
Hey there. This is Chris Bonowitz, P&Z.
Okay, thank you. Property ID 79313 S5078 Sundance Acres. Lot 4 acres is 1.636. This area is zoned for a single family, one family district, which is conforming use. And the request to allow a 1998 year model, 16 foot by 80 foot manufactured home to be moved onto this property, which is a non-conforming use, which is contrary to the zoning in this area. That wraps up the public hearing request for the variance. We'll address that later in the regular session. I'd like, we guess still got 10 more minutes, so.
You can get Chris to speak about what they decided at the meeting.
Can you jump in real quick, Chris? Hello, Chris. Chris Bonowitz.
Can you hear me now? We can't hear you. If I click on Zoom meeting.
Now, I'm hearing you, Chris.
Speak again, Chris.
This one, what if we go to there?
We can hear.
Nope.
We can hear you.
Us for some reason, but Jim can hear us, so we should be good.
I can hear it. I can hear all of you. I can hear Chris and the council.
Where's your phone?
Can y'all hear us?
No, he can't hear y'all at all. So can you do it through your phone?
That's fine. We can hear them.
I'm gonna put it on speaker.
Oh, well, they can hear you, but you can't hear them.
Correct.
Okay, they can't hear you.
Well, I can hear Chris and Donna, but I can't, but I don't think y'all can.
All right, this is,
Listen.
Yeah.
yes.
Chris, I think you're gonna have to mute your
Too much
computer
interference.
to keep getting the feedback. If you'll mute your computer.
He wants him to speak on the feedback from the P&Z regarding this variance.
They can hear you.
All right. So we met via Zoom, and as you know, Chuck is in the hospital. He's all right, just having some tests done. We spoke with Mr. Robles, Mr. Julio Robles, and it was a unanimous decision that the variance be denied, basically based on the zoning that we've already put into place. Plus the mobile home was 22, 23 years old. And we don't feel like a mobile home like that would be a good thing for the city as we progress to try and improve our city. Mr. Robles spoke to us. He was interpreted by his son, and he said he would accept our decision. And we unanimously voted again to deny the variance for 420 East Rabbit Cove Road. And that's all I have to say.
Okay, thanks, Chris. I may call on you a little bit later when we get into the regular session, so where the city council can actually discuss and or take action. So if you'll bear with me for just a little bit. It's not far down the list. Okay, invocation, can everybody please stand? Huh? We've already called it to order.
Mayor,
Yeah,
we really need to close the public hearing and then call the regular meeting to order.
One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
thought we did that. My bad.
No.
My bad. It's 6:55, 6:56. We're gonna close the special session for the variance request. We're gonna call to order the regular session. Now, if everybody will stand.
Mayor,
Father, we come to you tonight to ask you to bless our city, our citizens, this mayor and this council. Grant that our mayor and we, the council members, serve with wisdom and justice. Direct us as we try to meet the needs that need to be met, and that we do so in a fair and equitable way that will benefit everyone. Guide us so that this meeting will be productive, effective, and decisive. Help us as we work as a unified team and combining ideas for a good outcome. We ask for guidance in everything that we do, and that your will be done as we plan and make decisions. Please cover our city with your grace and your favor, and please keep us all safe, healthy, and watch over us as we go about our daily lives. We ask all of these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I think Jim has.
Jim, do you have something?
no, that's okay. We're past it. Go
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Bear with me, and then I want to see what kind of number Leanne's down and your. Well, she's not coming back. I'm gonna do, I just did it for a moment. I want, we're at regular session, item number 4 announcement. I want to take a few minutes to kind of let the people know kind of where we're at right now, physically. Can you see how many?
7.
Okay. We've had some changes in our budget, and so I'm gonna have to give kudos to those that were responsible for that. You go back to, Brandon, August, September, or somewhere in there. We with the police, Brandon and Chief, did a presentation on lease vehicles for additional police cars and additional public works vehicles. And we also had budgeted for a 4.5 officer, half of it code enforcement and half police officers. Okay. With those things in mind, both Brandon, James McMillis has trimmed their budget significantly. We've gone from getting 2 police cars to 1, and we've gone from 3 new vehicles for the city and down to 1.
Yeah, well, 3 new vehicles for the water department.
Oh, okay. And 1 for what?
1 for the water department, 1 for the police department.
Oh, great. Yeah, that's the way it is now.
Yes.
So we've cut that substantially. That's an area of a concern that we thought we might be able to cut. And remember, that was the police vehicles, the trimming of 1 available position for the police to fill in as code as well. And I think that's it.
Police department also got rid of some cell phones that were not.
Oh, yeah, we went from 4 or 5 cell phones to 1, 2 years in the duty phone. So we are finding things and we are cutting back on them. I just need everybody to know that we're doing this very diligently. We're trying to find as much cost cutting as we can without jeopardizing service to our customers, whether it be a police issue, water, sewer, whatever. We're trying to trim the budget a little bit, and we'll be doing this from time to time because I think it's important that not only we have a discussion, a roundtable discussion on how we're doing on the agenda throughout the year. I think it's important for the citizens to know and see the changes that we're making right now. So I kind of want to touch base on that. So kudos goes out to James and Brandon for making those said cutbacks in your agenda. Unless somebody else has some other announcements, does anybody have?
The only thing I'd like to add to that, Mayor, is in the time of us not having a city administrator and or not paying the budget out of the budget for a city administrator, I would like to also give some kudos to Annette, because no matter how we look at it, Annette is definitely stepping up to the plate, and she's handling a lot of those tasks that would fall under the city administrator's title. And Annette, I personally for myself and also from this council would like to tell you thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. You're doing a great job. I really appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor, I have an
Yes, ma'am.
Well, much more of a thank you. Leon, I think I can speak for Leon. We wanted to say thank you to everyone that prayed for us and texted and called and everything while we were out ill. That it was pretty touchy there for a few days for him, not me especially. But we're back and we're very glad to be back. And we just want to thank everyone that sent us your well wishes, and it was good to know that while we were out, that our city was still in good hands, even though we weren't here to make any decisions or anything. But we just are very appreciative and say thank you.
We're glad to have you back. Any other announcements? Moving on to item 5, citizens input. We have any citizens input?
We do. This is a letter to the council/mayor for February 9th council meeting. This is from Ward Hanson. It says, "Dear sirs and madam, to be read before council closes meeting for executive session," which that was February 11th, but this says for the 9th. "I write in regard to an agenda item about police chief contract. Please do not finalize a contract for police chief before hiring a new city manager. Clearly, the city does not have a responsible or prudent chief to manage a department in a manner to have 24/7 police patrol. This is proven by lack of patrol during November and December, and earlier this year, there were 2 or 3 police all working at the same time. Clearly, the existing chief has no clue about cost-effective management of his team and equipment, as evidenced by his unbudgeted request and presentation about buying computers for $17,000 plus. A good manager would have planned and budgeted for a major equipment replacement long before now. Wouldn't you agree? Respectfully requested, Ward Hanson.
And then that it. Was that it?
That's it.
Okay. Moving on to the consent agenda item. I hope everybody's taking some time over the weekend to kind of review some of the reports, the numbers and things like that. Chair would entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion to accept the consent agenda items A through L.
I'll second the motion.
Robin first,
Mayor,
seconded, all in favor?
Chris,
Sir.
it's always a good idea, just for clarification in the record, to read the items A through L into the record, so we know, just for purposes of the audio record, what was on the consent agenda that you're about to approve. So Annette can do that, the mayor can do that, it doesn't matter, just read the items into the agenda, into the audio record.
And I do as the budget.
So do we go ahead and read them off? Because we've got one council member that has a question or comment on one of those consent agenda items.
And if it's just a question or comment, you can consider it in the if you something you think you're going to take a different vote on, you may want to remove it and create and move it down into the action item part of the agenda. But if
It's just information.
okay, then just read off the whole list, and then Leon can ask the question he has about the particular item.
So the thing to do is read off all the agenda items A through L.
Yeah, and you know, you don't have, if you want Annette to do it, she can read, but somebody needs to read that into the record.
In other words, Ed on here.
Now she's got it coming from about 3 or 4 different directions. Okay, as far as the agenda items, approval of minutes for November 30th, 2020, December 8th of 2020, December 9th, 2020, and also December 16th of 2020. Also included is the approved bills to be paid, those bills paid and those to be paid December 2020 through January 2021. Also approval of financial reports for the month of December 2020 and January 2021. 2021. A little bit. Also court report for the month of December 2020 and January 2021. Police department reports for the month of December 20th, 2020 and January 2021. Public works work order report completed and outstanding December 20th, 20 and January 2021. Public works department, there is not in your packet. There was been reported. Also on H on the next page will be the permit report for the month of December 2020 and January 2021. That was Leanne. Code enforcement report for the police department for January 2021. EDC minutes from October 2020, November 2020 canceled, December 2020, and January 2021. Also, K, Keep Tawakoni Beautiful minutes. We have none at this point. Planning and zoning. We do not have a report on that, which takes us to old business, item number 7.
No, that's your consent agenda, and you need to go ahead and act on that.
Yeah, we've got to go.
So go ahead.
Want me to redo it?
What was your information?
You've already got a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda, and then Leon had a question.
Okay,
Well, it's, yeah.
hang on.
Okay, so do I need to make the motion again? Is that what you're saying?
No,
Yeah.
no, you do not. You, motion on the table.
All right.
Hang on.
He has one more question.
I may have to, I can't hear. Let me know.
While he's looking, I had questions too, so.
Go ahead.
On Boyd Septic, that we did all the sludge pumping and all that, are we getting prices from other people in the area, do you know? Or we just have?
Yeah, I've got them from just a few.
I didn't know if we've always used them and that's just who we use, because I've kind of heard.
Oh, you need to pump,
To
I'm
pump
thinking
out.
of the sludge
that. No,
dumping.
I'm saying to pump out.
Oh, to my knowledge, no, that I haven't done. There's only been one that's been done. I mean, he may have done it twice.
We got quite a bit, but Leon's found his now. I just wanted to make sure if we were or not.
Okay, on the P and L on the general fund, which we're showing a minus $786 in miscellaneous.
Mhm.
It's a minus $786 in miscellaneous.
Under which category?
Profit and loss, general fund.
Expensive.
Expense,
Expenses.
administration.
Easy way to do that.
Municipal court,
Either way, do that's your number.
municipal court.
What number is it, Leon?
Here, wait a minute.
The one you got to the far left.
Yeah, 164,999.
Those not- I didn't do a printout on that. I don't know what the miscellaneous was. For. Under court, okay. Okay. Is there
Okay.
anything else?
Oh, yeah, while she's looking,
I ain't gonna ask all mine. I'm gonna come up here and talk to.
under police department, there's another miscellaneous for $442.54. Categories, there should be no miscellaneous. It has to be something, we had to know what it was.
Now, I'm pretty sure on the police, 442.54. I do know at the beginning of this, we didn't have a line item for ADT for security. And now that the auditor has released that this past week, I got all those entered, so some of these will be moved around.
Okay,
So I'm pretty sure that's what that was.
I'm okay with that. I think I'm, under parks utilities, we hadn't paid any, but I think I found them over under occupancy tax, if we figure out we can,
Yeah,
we
those,
can pay that over there.
those are quarterly gonna be transferred back over to where they're supposed to be.
Why do we have to do it that way?
Well, they're automatically drafted. I mean, we can switch them to general fund.
Well, I mean, can't they just stay in occupancy tax?
We're not supposed to be paying them out of there from what I've been told.
Paying what out of,
The park utilities,
Oh.
they've been budgeted there, in the past.
Are they
And-
automatically drafted out of there?
Mhm.
Oh, okay, so we might ought to change that if we're doing something wrong. Okay, let's see. Under, let's see, the water bill, the money we're collecting for the fire department on the water bills. it's $329. Has any of that been paid to the fire department?
I have asked Leanne the last time that she gave y'all a
You-
donation.
you
It's
know,
probably,
It was last year sometime, I'd have to go back and look.
Okay,
so
so,
this is in the current budget. So
yeah, this is,
that's what we owe, $329.67.
so right now, we actually owe them $329.67,
Mhm.
and that has not been collected.
Okay. The miscellaneous that was in police department, $192.54 was ADT. That's the security system. And then there were 2 checks to James Phelps for, one was for 200 and one was for 50.
That was for prepping, stripping our vehicles for the auction.
Taking all the gear out of it.
Okay, under water department, we got cell phones, two line items there, one's 5,000 budgeted, one's 4, we hadn't paid any.
That's one that hasn't been split.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's another, they only draft out of one account. And the cell phones for the water sewer, we owe, the water sewer owes general fund back.
Okay.
Phones we have for water.
I've got one on my desk that's
I'm
not
gonna say
being
there's
used right now.
5 or 6, but I don't know that off the top of my head. I'd have to go check.
Plus radios in every one of the trucks?
Mm-mm,
No, we don't have any radios.
no radio.
No.
The black truck doesn't still have a radio? Car radio?
Oh, I don't know.
If it does,
That's
there's nobody
the
to
only
talk to. Anyway.
That's the only one.
Okay, the only other ones I have here are under, the sinking fund, number 2. The, jet machine, we budgeted 37,000, have we not paid any on that? There's nothing there.
But,
Think
It
this
says
one-
Chargers PD jet machine,
that payment hasn't come due yet. I believe that comes due March.
okay.
Yeah, it's a bit, it's just a one
It's a
big,
lump sum
yeah, it's a
payment.
lump sum.
Yeah.
Okay, and what did we remodel in City Hall, about $1,600? That wasn't budgeted for.
Last couple of my questions.
That one that leaked in front of the building stopped, they plugged it up. Well,
What's the line item? Is it under
It's,
administration?
460106.
There was no budget, but there was an expenditure, right?
Yeah,
You're
1,600.
saying 460, that's the amount or what?
No, that's the line.
That's the
The
line
line
item.
item, 4.60106.
Run out.
No, which one are we looking at? I'm sorry. Are we back to general fund? I'm not sure.
You're in the,
Profit and loss interest sinking
Sinking
fund.
fund number 2.
It's, gonna be page 1, on the bottom of it says page 1.
Yeah.
That should be it, I think. That's right. isn't it?
Interest and sinking.
City Hall remodel, 4.60.106. City Hall remodel.
Was it now?
16, 1282.
82.
Keep looking for that. And then we had some charges at Home Depot or some stuff from Home Depot. And it doesn't have to be a detailed answer, you may know, but it came up to, with all of it, was almost a couple thousand. I was wondering, did we buy some tools or,
It was a pump.
oh, like a water pump?
Mhm.
So, okay, so it wasn't tools. And then on the electrical, we spent quite a bit of money with H&H Electrical. Are we getting quotes from other contractors?
What they did for us, what did that get?
Well, I probably wired some pumps up or something at the plant, or I don't know what.
I saw him working down there by the sewer plant on that lift station one day.
But my question is, rather than just calling whoever's been called in the past, I mean, I want to make sure we keep people honest, right?
Right.
Same thing with like Boyd Septic. I mean, we spent over $4,000 with him. I want to make sure we're keeping people honest and we're saying, hey, how much will you charge us? Because it doesn't cost anything to ask somebody how much their cost is.
Right.
There are a few trades out there, but these trades I'm talking about, they can't charge you for a quote now. Found out that there are some that you can, but I've never been able to be fortunate enough to be in that business.
Yeah.
I have a question on the jet machines too. At one time, I know we bought the new one, but didn't we have another one? Has that been sold or what happened with that? Do you know?
Do you know if we still have that old jet machine?
Or I know it's still down there.
That we still
I
have,
didn't hear you.
we still have the old jet machine
Okay.
down at the sewer plant.
Is it being used?
That I don't think it's operational. No.
We're gonna put it in the museum,
Can it be sold?
along with our dish mowing track.
That was some of the stuff that was gonna get put up on our database by the public works side.
Okay.
Oh. The INS hit the wrong line item. That was the first payment back to EDC for the money that we borrowed for the loan to Rabbit Cove Road. It hit the wrong line item,
The 1,600,
16.
Okay.
Oh,
went to the EDC for the loan, okay.
That's auto drive, isn't it?
huh?
Isn't that payment auto drive?
Oh, no, we have to transfer.
Okay.
Anything else?
I think that.
That's it. Anybody else? For to entertain a motion.
Motion's already been
I think
made.
you got that one. That was done, man.
We just need to all approve.
All we're gonna do is raise our hands. So
All in favor?
Kevin Featherston.
Leon Meyer,
Robin Myers.
Chris Burkett.
Thank you. Okay, then getting back to old business, Brandon, the computers for control card. The floor is yours.
At our last meeting that we talked about this, I was told to go out and, or we were told to go out and try to get some more bids on computers. We reached out to 4 different companies, and the only other quote we got back was from Ramco. And it's got a little ram on the top right-hand corner. Everybody should have a copy of it. And what the Ramco is they're a dealer for GTAC computers. And so this is 3 GTAC S10 computers, and that are equipped with Windows 10 Pro. These computers are similar to the ones we have right now. And it's a total of 3 of them with 3 dock stations. The dock stations that we currently have in the vehicles will not support these new computers, so we would have to get a new dock station. The total price for the 3 computers is $6,658.95. And the three Gamber dock stations for them would be $2,281.65 for a total of $8,940.60.
Okay, that's what's included on the total, the document, the computer and the documentation.
Correct, sir.
But not installation.
Did that include installation? No, it did not.
Do we know what that is?
We don't know what that is on the installation of them. This would be, there's no financing available on this. There would be just, we would have to buy it for $8,940.60. That's the only other one we got back from the first one that I brought to y'all, get a presentation on. On the Peacemaker computer system, and I'm not gonna try to put Kevin on the spot too much, but we were able to get a demo on that computer system. Rains County currently uses that system, or the computers with CopSync. And so I made a phone call to the mayor, which the mayor had a prior engagement. I had a prior engagement, but we want to thank Deputy Chief Kurt Fisher over in Rains County. He took the time to come over here to demo that computer system for us. Kevin was here with Sergeant Ailey to look at that computer system to see how it works. And Kevin, do you mind talking a little bit about what you saw?
Sure. So, Deputy Fisher, when he was here, he had nothing but good to say about it. He said that they've been very, very good units. He showed me how they worked, went into it, showed me how the lock and all that stuff works. And he claims that they've tested them a little bit, not on purpose, but the ruggedness is actually true to its claim. He had nothing but good to say about them. You know, we've kind of missed the boat. So whenever you brought this up, I did want to kind of fire back and find out. Did we reach out and find out if there was any kind of grant stuff available out there on those? Did you talk to them?
No, the grants for this year are already up.
So you know, maybe this is something that's coming into learning thing for us, that we need to make sure we're buddying up with people, right? I will say that although they're not in our county, just in the 15, 20 minutes I spent out here in the parking lot with Deputy Fisher, though, we've got to be reaching out and we've got to be talking to these other agencies and making sure we're rubbing our shoulders as much as possible. Because sometimes it's just all about a conversation. They got all theirs in a grant. I forget how many computers, but beside the point, he's telling me that you know, they talk to other departments, and of course, everybody else is like, oh man, I wish we had those, right? But where I'm looking at it, I don't even want to look past that, because we talked about this. This is I think the third time we've talked about this in a council meeting or in some sort of meeting setting. You know, one thing that I know for sure is we have a police department. Right? One thing I know for sure is we have a police department we're going to expect to do work. So we've got to figure out what we're going to do. Granted, at the end of the day, yeah, maybe we probably should have planned ahead or whatever, but I think we could say that about the whole entire city. We've got to do something for these computers, to get something for our computers in place. We don't want to be caught without computers.
Let me put you on a spot. You know, you already answered it for me personally, but remember me asking you what would worst case scenario, like if all of our computers broke and we literally had not one computer, how would your department act, or what would they do, or how would it affect you? Just so everybody else knows.
It would cripple us. Well, for starters, we would have to go back to handwriting tickets. Those tickets would have to be manually entered by the court clerks. Now, the way it is when they issue a citation in the police car on the computer, when they pull into the parking lot, it automatically transfers in the air through the routers or the modems that transfers over to their computers. So they would have to manually enter them. You would have a situation where we would not be able to check driver's license. We would not be able to, well, we could still check it. We'd have to call it in over the radio. We wouldn't be able to run license plates. Work motor vehicle accidents would be harder to do. We'd have to physically handwrite everything on the report. Where now, when we enter those license plate numbers and driver's license numbers, it automatically auto-fills into the report. Like I worked an accident for Quinlan Monday. They had a lot of calls and they had a car wreck up in Quinlan. So I went over there and took care of it for them because they didn't have anybody to do it. And I was sitting there thinking, I was going, man, sometimes you just, are thankful again for the technology you have, because I had a situation where the guy didn't have his driver's license on him. He didn't have his insurance card on him. And I would have been able to get all of that data and everything if I didn't have that computer. You would have your officers, every time they took a report, they would have to come back to the station and type the report on the computer here. They wouldn't be able to do that inside the vehicle. I wouldn't be able to track pure crime statistic on hot areas in the city. As far as this side of the city is getting these types of calls, we need to focus over on that. It would greatly impact us not having them.
Well, I was thinking, it's just important for whoever's watching and listening on YouTube or whatever, but also the rest of the people that weren't during that discussion. So I appreciate it.
So let me ask you, in your reports through CopSync and all that, I don't know all the technologies or jargons that we use, but when we're putting stuff in our reports, or we're putting stuff into that computer, sensitive information, whether it's whatever, is there any fail safes that are in there that if you make a mistake that it kind of won't let you load that, or it won't take it?
Yes, the system itself, talking about the CopSync system now, more the system itself, what the system really does wonders for me is, and it does for him too, is it helps prevent errors.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is the police officer is typing a report. If he doesn't properly enter everything in that report, it's not going to let him save it. It's not going to let him save it and submit it to the sergeant for approval.
Like a driver's license number.
Exactly.
Missing
Or even if he does the racial profiling wrong, or if he does the UCR reporting wrong on that particular, the actual particular report he's doing, it's not going to let him save it. It's going to show errors. Just like Monday, they changed the field on us and on the crash report that I didn't know they changed, and it wouldn't let me save my crash report until I was able to figure out what it was they actually wanted me to do.
The reason I asked is if information is incorrect, then once it makes it to court, then if you got incorrect information, then.
Right.
I have a question, Brandon. Since, and Jim mentioned this earlier, since now that we are just going to lease or purchase just one new police vehicle, do we still need to purchase the amount that we were quoted, or can that be backed out, that extra vehicle? Do we need, what I'm trying to say is, do we need to go ahead and get that extra computer?
Yes, ma'am, because the way it works is 2 of these new computers are going to go in the chargers, and that other new computer is going to go in the new vehicle we're getting.
I see. Okay.
So we're running on the same network.
I got
Something that this computer does have, and I want to say something else about CopSync real quick when I get done. The one thing this computer does have that I was impressed with is it's a no-touch computer, meaning that if the officer is driving down the road and he needs to enter a license plate because he thinks there's a stolen car in front of him, all he has to do is talk to the computer. He doesn't have to divert his eyes over to the terminal and type it in, which I'll be honest with you, it can get pretty hairy sometimes by just taking your eyes off of the road and typing one number in, and the vehicle in front of you is on the brakes. So they're able to do that. We also believe that it's a part of the text talk feature on it is that the officer is going to be able to speak his narratives into the computer, which is going to help with less errors. When he's going to actually be able to talk his report in there. But one thing I wanted to tell you about CopSync, and my biggest benefit that I see from that network we have is this. We all know we get some pretty violent storms through here. And those storms can get pretty violent sometimes. For some reason, knock on wood, if this building was ever wiped off the foundation by a tornado or something, I would have to go chase down documents like everybody else would. But all of our offense reports, everything with the court, everything is backed up into that. Those citations are backed up into an off-site server that we don't have to, well, we pay for it, a yearly fee, but it's all backed up. So I'm not going to have to go chase down a report to be able to print one because we have it, because it's an off-site server.
I think during that same conversation that we were talking about CopSync and all that, if I think we also to add to your worst case scenario was the fact that if we decided not to get any computers and we let CopSync go, in other words, we're paying about $4,500 a year, if I'm not mistaken, for
Correct. Yes,
CopSync.
Yes, sir.
If we just let it all go and go totally manual, and then 5-10 years down the road, after a bunch of growth in the city, that city council then 5 or 2 years down the road is going to have to make a decision whether they want computers in the car or not, and that cost could be $70,000-$80,000 because it would be a complete new system, and all we're doing, we've been grandfathered, so to speak.
Correct. Yes, sir.
Is what it amounts to.
Correct. We paid somewhere around $35,000 for CopSync. We didn't get in on the ground floor like a few other agencies in this area did. But right now, with the more enhanced, there's a more enhanced version out there. There's 2 different types. The more enhanced version is over $100,000 for the initial software. We pay right now. What that $4,500 adds up to is it adds up to our unlimited text service. It provides our updates. It helps them in the court if they ever experience any type of integration problems between MCRS and CopSync. It pays for our users. Police officers only cost us $99 a month for the access and $20 for a reserve. And that's well over $200 now per officer is what I've been told.
I just want to make sure everybody knows the conversation you and I have.
It's that, do those updates not include up to the latest version of the software?
Well, I call it the CopSync Pro is a total different system that has the warrant sync on it and other things. Yeah, but it updates every Wednesday. So when you get in your vehicle Wednesday and you fire it off and you log in, you may sit there for 10 minutes because it's a big update. And sometimes they let us know. Like they did an update last Wednesday, and then they sent us a message telling us if you have your reports open, make sure you save them because we got to back that update out and reset it. So
did we see a demo of this one, the Ramco?
No, sir, that's the same computers we have in our car right now.
Okay.
Jordan, you remember any difference on that one, that new GTAC versus what we got right now?
This is a newer version, but one thing I'll add to those peacemakers is their tablets, so they can also act as patrol cameras. If we're out on a crime scene, we need to take crime scene photos instead of having to purchase cameras for each additional vehicle.
Yeah, that's one thing we will be able to do now. In the past, we've had problems uploading pictures to the actual report itself and storing it. So we've had to print those off on a color computer and put them in the case file. But with the tablet having the computer, those pictures will automatically import over as far as the evidence photos on crime scenes.
Let me ask you this, Jordan, if you were buying these yourself for your own personal use, would you spend the extra $2,000 to get the peacemaker over this one?
100%.
Even if you couldn't afford it?
Oh, absolutely, I probably would.
Well, I don't know if it's 2,000 over, because these are installed, these are not. Right.
But, right, you're right, because,
Well, it's more than 2,000.
but to his point, he's talking text.
It says vehicle set up, oh, it's $1,800 on
Right.
the peacemaker.
So what you'd end up doing is you would be, with Robin's question she had about the new vehicle, you would be paying for a setup that you would be getting installed later at a later date. I'll tell you,
Enterprise said they put some computers in there, didn't they?
no, Enterprise doesn't do the upfit. The upfit is actually done by a company out of Sulphur Springs.
It's that quote that we got, did it not include the upfit?
Yes, it does have an upfit in it, but it doesn't have a computer in it.
Okay.
Because we didn't experience this computer problem we had. You know, if I was to be able to take a crystal ball and say, hey, I'm gonna have a computer problem 3 months from now.
Right, but we was gonna put a
Yeah, we
computer in
didn't know.
it either way, weren't we?
No, sir. No, sir. We were gonna transfer one of these computers to it.
Right. Yeah, we were taking our.
Yeah, we were taking our computers, one of our computers out of this car and putting it in that one.
So how close are we being at the worst case scenario with no computer?
We have one working computer right now.
The clothes are lit.
One working computer. And that working computer, the third officer that logs into it is gonna spend 25 to 30 minutes on CopSync getting his printer things re-downloaded into it because the system, CopSync, kicks one of them out.
They show up early.
Here, show up early. It happened. So it happened to Sharifi last week, probably after, it'd probably be Harris Monday, when he gets back to work. You'll have to, because I logged into the printer system today. So yeah. But if I was looking at this, of these 3 different options you have for the Peacemaker, I would do the lease. And the reason why I would do the lease is because the technology is always changing. When you buy a computer and you take that computer home and you use it, within a year, that computer is already obsolete. If we did the lease purchase for 3 years, at the end of that, you got 2 options you can do. You can turn them back in and do this again and get new computers. Or if the technology is where it's at and everything's working fine, you can buy them for $1.
How long is the computers we got last?
The GTAC that I have the original GTAC. My computer that just went down is the original GTAC, one of the original GTAC computers we got when we started this, which is 10 years ago. So it's lasted me that long.
Is the only one we got still working?
No, sir, mine doesn't work. It comes in and out, and it has a mind of its own. Sometimes you'll fire it up and the screen will be normal, and then you drive down the road and 30 minutes later, it's all distorted again. One of the benefits that we can do, and I've talked to Annette about this, and I've talked to Kim, is we're able to access and use the Court Technology Fund to help with this, if the council wants to do that. Currently in the Court Technology Fund, I don't know if you have a P&L with you.
It's not, the P&L for court technology is not there. We normally don't spend that money.
But under 1.64.121, the Court Technology Fund, there's $2,300 that are available that we're able to access to help pay for this for the first year. After the first year, the second and third year, if you decided to do the lease option on those computers, we would have to work that into our yearly budget.
It's only a 3-year program, right?
It's a 3-year program.
Three equal payments.
Yes, sir.
Does that wipe out the court technology fund?
It would wipe out the Court Technology Fund.
So Kim wouldn't have any money if something went wrong with her stuff.
Well, if she was not for, well, I don't know how the Court Technology Fund is used. I thought it was used to purchase software for the court. So I don't know. That'd probably be a Jim McElroy question.
On the municipal court budget, the budget versus actual, that 2,300 is budgeted in there in the court already.
Did you have something? Jim McElroy.
But no, I don't have any, I mean, what I hear Annette saying is they've already budgeted to spend the 2,300 in this year's budget. Is that what you're saying, Annette?
Yes, that was a line item that was already in the court, municipal court expense.
An expense item, or was it just a revenue item?
It's an expense item that she's going to be using.
Okay.
Okay, then I must have misunderstood her when I talked to her because I thought she said that she wasn't purchasing anything this year.
She hadn't anticipated,
She had, okay.
you know, that's kind of like the situation with us.
So are there P and Ls that we don't get that have money in?
Water deposits, yes, you get that, but that sits there for refunds when people move.
Right, but I mean, we don't get them with these every month.
No,
I would think we should get everything that has any money in it.
that's fine. There's about 12 accounts,
About what?
about 12 checking accounts.
Well, but you're sitting up here managing all this money in the city, and there's money that you don't even know we got.
But you know,
And I mean, is that not reasonable?
it's fine. Y'all are
I know
welcome
it's a
to
lot
look at
more,
it.
probably more work for you, more paper, but
Well, it's just, I just print another report, but you know, some of those, funds that we don't use,
and
which is the water deposit account.
Dad is auto drafts on that too.
No,
Oh, okay.
that's, when Cody takes a new customer, that money goes automatically into that account. It's, for the water deposit for commercial or residential.
so we use it sometimes, don't we?
No, that's,
So we ought to be big in there.
well, there's, a lot of money in there, but a lot of it's refunded too. So what did you have, about 3,000 that was refunded this past, as they move,
Yeah, I
they
mean,
get their money back.
You can't really spend it. That's a deposit. So I mean, you can't bank on the thought of somebody's never gonna get their deposit back.
We've had deposits that's like $20 deposit when they first moved here.
That's pretty much all I had.
All right. I guess that being said, I already got a note here to put this on the next agenda as a discuss and or take action on.
Does anybody have any more questions?
All right, let's move on to,
Thank you.
yeah, thanks, Vern. In the new business, line number 8 of the agenda, discussion and or take action. Chris Bonovich, you still with us? Chris Bonovich.
Looks like it's on there. I don't know.
Discussion and or take action on the variance request listed below. Non-conforming use request for a variance for property owned by Julio Robles, located at 420 East Rabbit Cove Road in West Waukegan, Texas. Legal description, property ID number is 79313 S5078 of 7 acres, lot 4. The 1.636 acres, zoned SF1, which is single family district conforming use. And the request is to allow a 1998 year model 16 foot by 80 foot manufactured home to be moved to this property, which is a non-conforming use, which is also contrary to the zoning in this area. Chair would entertain discussion or action.
I make a motion that we take the planning and zoning recommendation to deny the non-conforming use request and variance for the property at 420 East Rabbit Cove Road.
I second that motion.
First and second, all in favor?
Kevin Featherston,
Leon Meyer,
Ron Meyer.
Chris Burkett.
Okay, moving on to item B is, discuss and or take action resignation of Councilmember Place 3. Chair will entertain discussion and or motion.
I make a motion to accept the resignation of council person place 3.
I second it.
All in favor?
Kevin Featherston,
Leon Meyer,
Robin Myers.
Chris Burkett.
It is unanimous. Moving on to C, discussion and or action adding a fee to inside city limits water customer bill for road improvement fund. This may take some time. I may need some help from other council members to really make sure everyone understands this. Currently, there are a lot of cities. Would you say most cities, McElroy, or just a few, or how would you interpret the number of other cities that utilize a road fund?
A few cities, it's pretty common right now that the city of Sulphur Springs adopted one 2 years ago. And when we adopted it, there were a number of instances that we considered of the similar street funds from other cities. So we were not the first one. We were, it's not that, it's fairly typical. I'm sure we could ask TML a question and they could give us a long list of cities that have done this. In Sulphur Springs, we adopted a $5 per residential meter, and then we adjusted it for multifamily meters and for commercial meters, but essentially a $5 per month dedicated street fund. And it can only be used for street improvements and street infrastructure. And, in Sulphur Springs, it's added almost $500,000 a year to our street budget. So, it's not insignificant. It wouldn't do that in West Tawakoni, but it would add a significant amount of money to your street budget. And probably, I don't know, double your street budget perhaps. And that can have a huge impact. And you adopt it for whatever period, say 5 or 10 years, and you can renew it at that point. But it's the ongoing impact, knowing you've got that extra income coming in, that lets you plan for infrastructure development now and in the future.
And thanks, Jim. And to add to that, right now, almost every street in the city needs some sort of attention. It's been, I'm guessing, a couple of years, 2 or 3 years since we really focused on roads and regraveling. So the problem is getting worse and worse. And the money we pull in for water, sewer, even general fund for that matter, is not where it needs to be to fix all these roads. We're finding in water and sewer, the costs are growing exponentially. We just last week had to fix one of the lift stations, which we have 22 lift stations. It costs us almost $15,000 to fix the lift station. And these things just keep popping up. Seems like every other week we have a huge expense. The surface water, I call it a plant. I don't want, is it a plant? I mean, where the water comes directly from the lake into a well, those have to be pumped out every so often because of mussels, trash, and everything else. Well, these new people that we've got on, and by the way, a big part or a big contributing factor into a lot of our maintenance issues right now, and the cost of them is directly correlated to the turnover we had last year. That turnover we had last year they didn't all just wake up one day and quit. This took months of them deciding where they wanted to stay. And that's the way it is with most people. Most people, it takes they go through a period of, months, sometimes years, trying to figure out for their own benefit, is it worth staying or going? So when you have a problem like that, where you got somebody thinking about leaving a job for months before they actually quit, you've got attitude issues, you've got poor workmanship, a lot of things contributing to that. And I have to, I going through this budget like I have to point it towards the turnover that we had. I'm not blaming anybody for it. I'm just stating the fact that with the turnover that we had, it's had a huge impact on our water and sewer because we haven't been doing the maintenance and operations that we need to be in both the city, the water plant and the sewer plant. I will say something about the sewer plant I found out recently was once all that raw sewage goes through the phases of the water treatment, it comes out drinkable on the other end. As a matter of fact, we took some of that water, it comes in to a lift station, gets pumped to the sewer plant. The sewer plant breaks it all down, and they took a bottle of Dasani water that you could get at any store. He's got one. Our water coming out of that sewer plant is cleaner than the Dasani water for the lab. So that says a lot, but we go back to turnover and all that. So the road improvement fund would go directly to the roads, and we can start acting on doing these roads ASAP. This week is a bad week as we got terribly cold weather, maybe wet weather. But the first week, decent week we have, I want to start on the roads today. Is when I want to start, and I think everybody agrees with me, especially the citizens that drive down these bad roads. We just spent about $8,000 on Maze Lane, and a little, some of that was on Tomahawk. We had problems getting around Tomahawk. It was horrible, and so we did do some maintenance on Maze Lane. It's made a heck of a difference. Is that the fix for it? No, but it's a good Band-Aid. It'll be a long-lasting Band-Aid. I'll say long-lasting, a couple of years, it'll last. But it costs us almost $8,000 to fix Traffic Cove. And I hope, I don't have to drive every day. I hope those of you that do drive every day see the improvement, and it recognizes that we are trying to move this forward with road improvements. And so that's really the whole thing with the road improvement bill, is to put money aside over and above what we're already bringing in, which if we don't bring a road fund in, the roads, it's going to take years to hit every road with rock. We don't have a bottomless checking account. That money has to be accounted for, and we need some avenue to add to a fund that we can pull from and fix these roads, at least improve the heck out of them. Is there any questions or comments or?
Just an example, if we were to, this is just an example, if we were to charge $10 on this road fund, that would bring $88,000 a year for us to spend on the road. More than what we got now.
Well, and that's if we charge each one, but in my opinion, we would charge commercial a little different. Period. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not okay with charging every household the same as what a commercial.
Yeah.
Well, commercial always pays more.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
They pay more phone lines, more everything.
It's actually at $10 a month would be over $100,000.
Be $106,200.
Yeah.
How many?
885.
885 meters that are in the city limits and 128 meters that are outside of the city limits, which we can't do that because we don't maintain the roads. The roads are our responsibility.
So how many was in the city?
885. Now, some of those 85, some of that 85 is commercial too. There's not that many commercial, huh?
And multi-use.
Yeah, multi-use, yeah.
And those need to be different.
Yeah. So we included it on the pack. It's here somewhere about the water rates, and it breaks it down commercial. It breaks it down for,
Are you getting ahead or we?
we're still on the road fund. I'm just trying to explain where this money is not there. We need another avenue. But we're coming up to that here in just a sec, just for non-citizen residents. So let's talk about the increase of fund to this water village fund that would go directly toward a road improvement fund. Keep in mind, this doesn't have to be a permanent thing from here on out. I feel like once we get a handle on the roads, then we can go back to doing our regular just monthly maintenance and have somebody go into the roads and making necessary repairs. But we're a few years behind on doing anything with roads. I think the last time that we did any kind of road, any significant road improvements was 3 years ago in July of 2018. That's where we put down oil sand in Hell's Retreat, Indian Oaks. What else?
I was going at that time.
That's the only one at that time.
Yeah,
I don't think we did anything with the road, any other road since then, rock or otherwise. So it's been a few years, and it's gonna take some time to catch up. With the shape that these roads are in now, without some sort of road fund, it's not gonna get any better. We just can't make it happen. I've been through this budget, and I know all the rest of you share the same opinion that we just don't have the money in the budget to do it. We had $65,000 worth of road material in the budget. We've already spent $8. So that's just on one road. Of course, it's the most traveled road in the city, but when you get down to it, there's a lot of roads in the city that only have a half a dozen home roads.
Well, I think it's a no-brainer. I think we need to discuss what we think we wanna do with it.
What rate?
Take some kind of action. We put that under act, yeah.
Yeah, we got it. It's an action item.
So
So
I think let's get something out there and let's make a decision and let's try to move this city forward.
anybody got any motions or any other discussion?
Okay, we set rates with ordinances, so what we really need to do is sit down and come up with a written ordinance that sets the rate for the different size of meters, different types of meters, and then also specifies where these funds can be used, and that's going to be dedicated to the street improvements and those kinds of infrastructure developments. And we can get an ordinance together by the next meeting and have it ready. It takes 2 readings, but you need to give a chance for the public to comment on this, because you're going to get some feedback from the public. I don't think it'll all be negative. If it's really going to get spent on streets, and that's what you have to tell people and convince people. And once we collect these dedicated funds, that's all we can spend them on is on streets. And so once people know that, they'll pay. People will usually pay for that kind of, if they know the money's really going to go to those uses. And
Annette and I was talking, and we did anticipate the need for an ordinance, and we just kind of thought, well, we can talk about it and even come to a vote, and then you write the ordinance based on, and really it's kind of a backdoor approach to it. I don't know if it's the right way to do it, but we were talking about, making a decision and you drawing up the ordinance to reflect the decisions that were made. Is that doing it too backwards?
it's not necessarily backwards. The problem is we require an ordinance to be read twice. And if you just make a motion to adopt an ordinance to set a street maintenance fee for a standard meter at whatever, $5, and for a multifamily meter at whatever, I'm trying to think what commercial meters are like $25, and, you know, multifamily meters, depending on if the multifamily property has a single meter, then it would have a higher rate. If each unit in a multifamily development has its own meter, it would just be the $5 residential meter.
Yeah.
We can come up with that kind of language, but I would be far more comfortable with having the ordinance in front of you on first reading and second reading for this kind of rate setting ordinance. We typically set our rates, Annette, correct me if I'm wrong, but don't we, in October each year, or in September, we do our budget, we set our rates each year correctly for multiple different kinds of rates that we charge on different things.
The water rate was last increased September 16, 2019.
Well, and I know water rates, but what I'm talking about are when we set the rates we charge, for instance, we set fees for parks and for all the different fees we set around town, the building fees and permit fees and all that kind of stuff. Don't we do that each year by ordinance? Sometime in September, we're doing budget.
No, we don't do it annually.
Okay, so we'll just do it as we need it. You know, I've recommended in the past that on an annual basis, when we're setting budget, we adopt a single fee ordinance that sets all the multiple fees we set each year and tie them to our budget. And that forces us to look at fees every year and determine if the fee we're charging is fair in the marketplace. If we don't look at fees for years, sometimes we're charging a fee that's 10% of what everybody else in the state's charging because we hadn't looked at it for years. If you force yourself to do it every year, you gain on that, and I recommend that. But I think we ought to set this kind of fee by ordinance. I think the ordinance ought to be written. But you certainly can adopt it if you want to word the motion to adopt an ordinance to set the rate at residential rate X, multifamily rate Y, and commercial rate Z. On first reading, you can make that motion, and I'll have a written ordinance for you by second reading that everyone can see.
Okay. All right. Well,
Is that something you are comfortable with?
Well, we really hadn't talked about any rates.
No, I know, but we could real quick. I mean, we've basically got 3 categories, right?
Yep.
Jim, is that right?
You typically, in Sulphur Springs, we basically broke it down to 3 categories. Yes.
So in my eyes, we look at it this way. We look at it as 3 categories tonight. And we say it's 5, 10, 15. Those are just numbers I'm throwing out there. If not, then the only other way I think we can do it is we all, as a council sitting here tonight, we feel like that we're okay with us having this road fund set in place. So we would have to say is discussion or take action portion of this item would probably say, okay, Mayor, we would like for you and Jim to have a conversation and y'all set these rates and bring us a ordinance back to the next meeting. That's the only other way you could do it. Either there's 2 ways. We set it tonight.
We sit here and put up.
We give but for time's sake, right? I want to make sure that we all look at that. But I mean, if you are comfortable with us throwing the numbers against the wall and let's say put it on there like that, then let's do it.
well, that's kind of what Annette had and I had in mind was going to get it on the agenda. We'll talk about it, but we already knew we were going to get it.
Right, yeah, I knew that. But I mean, if we want to say the amounts, then I'm good with that. Let's say them. Let's go for it.
We have actually a residential rate inside the city. We have a commercial rate for a bit small business. Then we have a commercial rate for a medium business. We have one for a large business, and then for the RVs and the mobile home parks.
Large commercial, and then you have a separate one for RVs and mobile home.
So that
And-
would be.
One meter thing.
And then they had, years ago, had set this for larger meters. We don't have a 3-inch meter, do we? The
No.
largest we have is a 2-inch.
Yeah, I don't think we
That's
have.
probably only 1 or 2
And
of those.
the 2-inch meter is mostly the mobile home
No, I
parks.
think,
Oh,
I
hang
think
on.
they do lovely RVs are 4-inch.
Oh,
Well,
it is.
and I thought
Well, then I bet he's not being charged
Margie,
rate.
the old Margie's, we put a 3-inch meter in.
No, I don't know, I wasn't here when
I believe that one is a 2-inch
Is
meter.
that just a 2-inch meter?
I believe so, but I think it's the 5/8, you know, and it's a 2-inch meter.
I don't wanna, I mean, I don't know about y'all, I don't wanna overcomplicate it, but if we have 5 categories, we need to make sure we're sticking to our categories. Is that what I
Yes.
understood? So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 categories, so we need to put a price tag on each one of these categories. Does that make sense to y'all?
Yeah.
I agree.
You got residential, small commercial, medium commercial, large commercial, RV and mobile home. That's what I took out of that.
3, 4, 5, that's what I've got.
Okay, so, I mean, if everybody's got that, let's just start at the top and go down.
I have a
What-
question though, on RV and mobile homes, does that include the RV parks that have 1 meter that are
Yeah.
servicing all the,
Mhm.
is that,
Yeah.
would that come under the large commercial listing? or
That's
how
gonna be
would it-
under RV and
Under the
mobile.
RV.
Okay,
slash
all right,
mobile
I just
home
wanted to clarify that. Okay,
park. Their base rate is $312
okay, yes,
before any usage.
right.
So
300 what?
312.36.
well, I think for this line item, I don't know if that's gonna matter to us.
Well, Annette, what's the base rate for a single family residential meter?
48.63, and that includes their 1,000 gallons.
What about, do you have small, medium, and large business as well?
Uh-huh. A small business, no gallons, $54. Medium business is $112. Large business is $177. And then the RV park,
Is 3 watt, 300?
$312.36
What was the medium again? Sorry.
177.
is,
No,
no,
Oh,
112.
112.
112. Did I not give y'all a copy of the ordinance?
Yeah, you did, I'm sorry, I wasn't looking at it yet, you
Okay.
did.
Okay. I thought I
I'm
did.
actually writing on the back.
Well, what I wanted to do
I want
was
to
to
see it
mark
right
out to
here.
the side in each one of those categories, put the dollar amount you want to add.
Yeah.
We want to go with first one, thoughts for residents? I guess the most important one is the residents.
I think $5 for residential.
If you,
You have some folks here that are, it's gonna hurt them. I mean, they are financially, they have to make a choice whether to buy groceries or pay a bill, and even though $5 doesn't sound like a lot to us, it is to them.
Keep my mouth
I
shut.
have to think about them too.
I'm gonna keep my
It is.
mouth shut. I do think.
I know it's a minimal fee
But I
to ride on the roads. I
I
mean,
shop-
it is.
I shop at all of them at the dollar store.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't say what I want to.
I'm just saying. So, I mean,
Well, we're,
making things easy, do we say?
we're talking roads
Do
though.
we say 10%, add 10% to each one of them?
Well,
no, if you go with a $5 fee on the residential,
Yeah.
and you take that same percentage, now I missed one of the categories, but the residential is $5. The one that's $112 will be $19.63. The one that's $177 will be $31 a month. And the one that's $312.36 will be $54.75 a month.
I don't think that's high enough for them.
Now, what was the one I didn't get there, Annette?
You didn't have the small
54 for
business,
small business.
See, that's not-
How much is it?
54.
They do that, but
Well, if
Well,
you're
he's
doing
using the
about,
same
unless you're doing about
percentage, right.
percentage,
well, it's 5.4, 10%.
Here's what Jim's trying to do is if we're gonna say 5 for residential, he figured that percentage and he's giving everybody the same percentage.
I got it.
Yeah.
So what was it?
So it'd be $9.50 for a small business.
No,
What was that, sir?
$9.50 for the small business, $5 for residential, $9.50 for the small business, $19.63 for the next one up, $31 for the next one up, and $54.75 a month for the trailer park, so $312. That's the same percentage applied to every one of those meters.
I like your logic.
I do too.
That's more logic. Is there any way that we could put it on there where people could pay more than that if they want to?
Have an option.
That's an option right now.
But I mean, like all those RV parks down there by me that have every Friday night, all those RVs coming down Rabbit Cove Road, and every Sunday night, they're all going back,
Give me those,
Those people should pay more than their fair share because they're wearing those roads out.
Yeah.
And all those big trucks are coming down there.
If they pay more though, it's gonna make their bill paid ahead. If there's not a charge for it. That's the way it does in the water. In the water, it calculates it and it makes you pay over. So the next month you're gonna owe less because you're gonna have a credit.
It can't break out the difference.
RV and mobile home is one of our biggest things in our city.
right.
Unfortunately, it is.
And what was those figures again? Oh, we got $5
Okay,
for the.
5, 950,
Okay,
1960.
whoa, which area are you?
I'm going all the way down the line. Residential is 5, small commercial is 950.
Wait a minute, small commercial, okay, the small business meter, 950?
Yeah, medium commercial is 1963.
1963,
Large commercial was $31.
31.
RV mobile home was 54.75.
Is that the 31236?
Yes,
54 what?
75.
I like them first four, but that is not enough for that big one.
What about, he's not here now, somebody had lovely,
I need to check and make sure on that meter, to make sure what size meter they have.
Because if it's 4-inch, then they gotta be paying
Their base
$8.77.
rate, and I don't think so. I don't think that's what he's being charged.
So let's look at it this way. What did I didn't do the percentage, but what was your percentage, Jim?
It's 17, so let me tell you. 5, oh, I gotta get my calculator.
I want to be able to do the math on this, but I have to know.
It's 17.53%.
On the businesses?
17.5.
It's not 17%.
17.53%.
Well, residential's not 17.53.
Not at $5.
Yeah, it is. Calculate it. Divide 5 by 2853.
Cover 13%.
You know what I said?
10% would be $50.
Of residential, 10% would be 280.
No.
10% would be $4.80.
$4.80.
Of 2853.
Sir?
Of 2853.
No, 48.
Oh, I thought you said it was 2853.
No,
48.
4863.
Never mind. I used 2853.
I was rounding up.
Oh,
$5.
so we need to start all over.
Yeah, I gotta go back and recalculate.
Hey, that $5 sounds good.
Heck with this mask.
That's 10.3%.
10.3.
Yes.
So on the small business, we're just gonna use percentages for now, but in the ordinance, it'll be spelled out the dollar amount.
I think we need to go off, if we're gonna still say $5 for the residential, and then whatever that percentage, well, it's 10.3%. So basically, you're gonna be a little over $5 for small commercial and then on down the board. So y'all, if that's the way it is, that's fine. But all these figures you just had, they're all substantially going down.
Yeah, they go way down.
Yeah.
Because I was using 17% instead of 10%. In other words, the small business goes to 556, which is probably too low. I mean,
Yes.
$5 for residential at 10%. That's a 10% increase for a lot of people who are on fixed incomes. You know, the other rates have a chance to pass some of that cost off to customers. But the people that are living in their homes don't have that opportunity. So you don't necessarily have to stay on the same percentage.
I don't know if there's anything
I
about
would say
meters.
probably, there's a question that was asked is what are y'all gonna do about Arrowhead because we don't maintain the roads?
Doesn't
Oh,
matter, they don't live in the city.
Half of Arrowhead is in the city.
Oh, then we'll take care of
Then we need to be maintaining the roads. They're our responsibility.
It's like Rainbow.
They're HOA.
Rainbow goes up to the first
We
trailer,
never-
to the Y.
But we should be.
We can be.
We should be.
What's that?
They don't want it.
Well, I mean, we don't maintain their roads, but they're still in our city, they still drive
They're
down.
still
city
driving
roads.
down our road.
They're still driving down Lane Lane to get there.
They still drive down the city road to get to their house. So I think it's a mute point at the end of the day. Their road in front of their house may not be a city road, but they can't get to their house without driving down the city road.
And I'm sure they all love Rabbit Cove Road.
Yeah.
So.
I know I do. I'd pay $20 a month.
What was it?
Okay, sorry, Jim, this is whole cluster here, but
Well, and again,
personally,
this,
what I think we need to do is we take your figures that you had, the 950. I think the 950 going down was good.
yeah. And leave 5.
We need to take that percentage and apply it to the residential probably. And what is that?
Okay, then that would be this. Essentially, it would be this. I'm using my phone for my calculator and it always turns off.
I have his old number. If you need one.
Yeah, I need them all. I scratched them all out.
So I'm gonna start a small commercial, 950.
Be 850.
$31.
It'd be 850 for residential.
Actually 849, but I rounded up.
I'm good with that.
I'm good with it.
Okay, so
So it's gonna be 850, 950, 1963, 31, and 5475.
Yep.
and what's the, we're talking, what's the,
I mean, essentially 17.5%.
okay, 17.5% overall for all of them. So
Yeah.
if somebody comes up wanting, or has, like, a loaded RV has a 4-inch main is what Jordan's saying,
Right.
that'd be, is it 877 or
Yeah,
1102?
877.
877. So we've got to check tomorrow to see if in fact they do have a 4-inch meter, but also what's their base water pay?
Yeah, because theirs would be like $153.
Oh, you said 153?
Well, if that's what theirs would be, if theirs was 877.
It keeps going up for each one of these.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So let me ask you this, what if you charge 50% on the residential, just rounded it up to the next dollar, 20% on the commercials, round them up to the next dollar, and 25% on the RV parks and round them up to the next dollar?
Jim, can you make us an ordinance for that?
Tell me that again.
10% on residential,
And round it up,
rounded to the $0 up,
Okay.
and then 20% on all the commercials, rounded to the $0 up,
Mm-hmm.
and 25 on the RV mobile home, rounded up to the $0.
Okay. I'll do it both ways.
I want to make a motion that we have Jim get us an ordinance together for the next meeting.
I say
First and second, any other comments, questions? Chair, entertain a motion.
Got it.
A vote.
Kevin Featherston,
Leon Meyer,
Robin Myers.
Chris Burkett.
Robin, we're going, I don't know what's going on.
There's so much reading, there's so much
She ain't gonna
reading.
let us get in the same room as you, I can tell.
But I like it because it splits it across the board.
Yeah, I agree. Good idea, Leon. Thanks. Okay, moving on to item 8D, discussion and or action on increasing outside city limits residential and commercial water and sewer rates. Let me get my notes. Where the hell are my notes?
I put it in there. I'm not gonna get that back out.
Oh, it's at the bottom.
Oh.
Currently, we're paying the city, the city's paying 48.63. And the county pays at 23%. I think we figured 23% the other day. They're paying 63.33 for their base. Let's double check now.
That's right, 63.33.
It is, okay.
that's residential.
Okay. I'm having to go back a little bit. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. the difference in these, we've got 128 customers in the county. Some of those could be commercial. I would imagine, most of them would be residential. There's only a few that actually have sewer. I want to say that number is 12 out of the 128. Total meters outside of the city limits that the city maintains. And this is what Jim was talking about earlier, too, is that we're not recovering the funds enough to put back into our maintenance and operations for our water department, nor our sewer department. And he and I had discussions, a long time ago about increasing the rates to help pay for some of the deficiencies we have in the water and sewer. Again, I can't overemphasize enough that our water and sewer plant is totally functional. They are completely in compliance with TCQ. TCQ is very strict. They know what's going on before you do most of this stuff. It's just, all we're doing is maintaining, and we're not moving ahead with upgrades and things like that the water plant needs in order to provide us the quality of water that we desire. We deserve the best water that can be made. And I drink it every day. My ice maker makes ice with it. My dogs, when I have them, they drink it. I mean, we rely on the city and water a lot, the city and the sewer a lot. And what this is to increase the outside residential. Jim, did you tell me Sulphur Springs pays 100%?
Well, yeah, the people on the system outside the city limits, they're not paying ad valorem taxes inside the city.
Right, and that's
and part of the ad valorem tax offsets the cost of providing services. So we charge essentially twice. Your water bill's essentially twice as high if you're on our system, but you're outside the city limits than it is if you're inside the city limits. A high water user, if a high water user is immediately adjacent to our city limits, they would have an incentive then to petition to be inside the city because they're going to get a lower water bill. And the ad valorem tax, at least in Sulphur Springs, we have a 44-cent rate, so it's pretty low. The ad valorem tax will often be more than offset by the lower water bill. But yeah, we do charge it, and that's not unusual. I've had that in other cities. I think I have it in other cities right now, but we have had it. I have had it in other cities, and that's not unusual because the part of what you do with your rate making is of course, you pay for the ongoing cost of making water, but you also pay for the cost of building the system in the future, the depreciation on your system. And if you're not charging enough money and when we set rates, we take that into account. We don't just look at the day-to-day costs. We look at the cost of the system, the cost of maintenance, and the cost of amortizing the system we have, so we have money built up to build the next system and because most of those infrastructure systems have 30 to 50 year lives. And at the end of that period, if you have to go in and significantly upgrade them, replace them, and spend a lot of money. And so your cost structure has to recover not only the cost of making water today, but the cost of making water in the future. Part of the way we do that is we use the full rate making process plus all the revenue streams the city has. And to those people living outside the city limit, they're only paying part of the cost that infrastructure to provide the water services cost. And so we make up that difference in what the people inside the city are paying and what the people outside the city are paying by charging a different rate outside the city limits.
Does everybody understand that?
I do.
Yeah, I do, yes.
My thoughts are 25% residential, 40% commercial. That's my thought.
Well,
My-
let's back up. Let's back up a minute.
There-
Right now, you and I pay $48.63 a month, and it's $63.33
They're paying 23% more right now.
Is that 23? We did check
23%
that. My
more.
math is coming up different right now for some reason.
I may be wrong. but-
So, are you talking about adding to the 23% already, billed? To make it what?
I think
You
raise,
said 25,
I
right?
think raise it 25% or making it even 50.
I think he charged 50% more than.
Yeah, that'd be the
in
easiest way.
in the
to
base
say
rate,
so-
so that would put their 63.33 at 72.94.
So then you would charge 50 on the residential and 75 on commercial.
That sounds good.
I'd like to add a comment to this,
Yes,
just to
ma'am.
kind of put it in perspective
There's
to
only
those that are
one
listening and
big
watching.
Mhm.
One of the last council meetings that we attended, James, is his last name Mullis? Mullis told us that we have, 21 lift stations and only 3 of them are in some good, and he said, so that means 17 are in critical mode right now. So that tells you what dire straits our water system is in. And if we don't do something
Yep.
to stop this, those other 3 are gonna go down too, and then we're gonna be in really bad shape.
And that's just a lift station. That's not,
Right,
that's not
exactly.
counting, that's not counting getting the water in to make that lift
Right.
station.
Yeah.
And
I
we
just think that people need to understand why we need to increase these rates on those that aren't, and I hate to use the word, that need to contribute a little more so that the citizens that are paying property taxes are not having to
Right.
make up that deficit.
That's right.
Right, yeah.
So,
You know,
Like you said, you can always petition to be part of the city and go right back down to what everybody else is
Right.
like.
what was that, Jim?
It doesn't seem fair, but I just think it's equitable that we do that for everyone. It benefits everybody.
It would,
you know, adjusting water rates when we're looking at budget shortfalls like we're looking at is doable. I think since I've been at the city of West Tawakoni, I don't know how long it's been even before that, that I don't know when the last rate study that city of West Tawakoni performed was ever done. I don't recall one. I don't suggest we do a formal rate study because there's, a consultant's going to charge us $30,000 or $40,000 to do a real rate study.
You doing that?
But TCEQ had a few years ago, and we utilized it in the city of Wolf City. They had some rate consultants that were on their payroll that would come in and do an abbreviated rate study for small water systems like we have, and help us really identify what our cost of making water is and what our rates ought to be set at.
We take anything free.
yeah, I don't know if there is anything in existence.
And we ought to think about pursuing something like that, because there's some resources out there for small water systems like that would help us in defining what our real cost of making water and making sewer in the city of West Tawakoni is, and recovering those costs in our rate structure. And if we're doing that correctly, yeah, we're going to have lift stations go down. We're going to have special circumstances come up, but we ought to have a revenue stream that will support that kind of thing, because part of what a rate study does, it anticipates those costs.
I agree. It's one of those necessary evils.
Yeah. But I promise you, we can sit back and look at that water system all day long and guess at what we're really costing making water. But the science of determining what rates ought to be really is a science.
Right.
It requires engineering, and it requires a lot of skills that I lack.
I think right now, Jim, the science is a percentage, so we're gonna need another ordinance.
You will.
So,
You will. But now I would love to see us every year do rates in September. I mean, I'm not saying we don't do the rates now, but I'm saying all of these rates and all of our other rates come up every August or every September as part of our regular budgeting process, so that when we're setting budgets with rates and we're anticipating revenue off our rate structure, we're tying that consideration with looking at the rates and making sure that they're the rates we need to be charging for the services we're providing.
Yeah,
You know, there's a method to the madness that way.
yes, there is, and I think we're all in agreement. So though it is that necessary evil, we've gotta do something to support what we're spending in water and sewer now. And with the way it's going, we're never gonna make any progress. You know, we're trying to just make sure things are fixed as they break. We're doing a good job at that. But eventually, we're gonna be upside down in the city, you know, 10, 15 years from now. You keep going to this current rate and we won't be able to support it. So any other discussion or anything on the outside city limits residential commercial water rate? We 75%, right?
50 and 75, 50 on the residential, 75 on the commercial, which there may not be with one or two.
Is that for water and sewer?
No. It just says water rates on this agenda.
It says water and sewer.
Water and sewer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it'd be water and sewer.
so, but a lot of those people got down there on septic tanks, so you're not gonna be able
There's
to.
some, right, there's
It's
some,
only like
that-
12 outside the city
yeah,
That are on septic.
that are on.
That are on sewer.
yeah,
Okay.
there's some that have sewer, so we wanna cover
Okay.
both, but, so yeah, we'd be 50, they'd be
50.
50% over the residential
4863.
and 75% over the, commercial.
Okay, and,
So we need to make a motion for Jim.
yep,
So I want to make a motion that Jim writes us a resolution that we have an
Do it by
increase-
ordinance.
Ordinance.
An ordinance, sorry, an ordinance for water and sewer rates, 50% over the city rates, inner city rates for the county rates, and 75% for the inner city and the county rates for commercial.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
Kevin Featherston,
Leon Meyer,
Robin Meyer.
Chris Burkett.
all in favor. Let's see, unanimous. Okay, next one will be E. Discussion and or take action to set up a fee for septic dumping at the wastewater treatment plant. Leonard, James, I thought you was motion, I thought you was waiting. I thought you was raising your hand, so I'm sorry. James Moss has told us that, Leonard, they get somewhere around sometimes 75,000 a month for septic dumping. And, you know, like Canton charges 10 cents a gallon. Greenville charges 8 cents a gallon. And I think Leonard charges 8 cents a gallon. We've already beefed up the road because getting to the point to actually dump a septic, there was no way of doing it without adding some rock. You got a little ramp for them to go up so they wouldn't sink. I guess it was that bad. So we took quite a few loads of rock getting that prepared. But we also got to get the rest of this going. With that $15,000 we spent on one lift station last week, it's going to happen to all of them eventually. Now, we've also talked about a way that we can reduce that cost very significantly by what Kevin and I talked about, by using some people, just using our own people. We've probably got citizens out there that know how to do some of these things. I got a city council member and then another business owner that's willing to just do it just for the price of the material, with, you know, us buying it and everything. But the septic dumping would be a good offset for our current budget for the wastewater treatment plant. And that can pay for a lot of things. That can cover a lot of stuff. But we just need to come down to the pricing, and then we'll have to get, do we need an ordinance on that, Jim?
Yeah, we should do an ordinance. We should always set our fees by ordinance.
Okay,
Yes.
but I was thinking that, I just want to be sure. So, I figured if we did, if at 8 cents, at 8 cents a gallon, let's say 4,000 gallons. So, comes up to $320. If we only have 10 a week, that, this $3,200 times 52, you're looking at over $160,000 a year in additional revenue.
Do we know what it costs us to process it? We're hearing that they charge 10, they charge 8. What does it actually cost us to process a gallon of it? How much more?
I don't know if there's any real cost.
Gotta be some
There
chemicals.
gotta be cost.
Well, chemicals, yeah, but
Running through the line, wear and tear.
More employees.
it's no different than us adding 20 homes or whatever to the system. I mean,
Oh, no, it's quite a bit different because you don't have the cost of a
well,
gathering system.
I'm
They
talking,
drive it out there and dump it in for you.
I'm not talking about without cost, I'm talking about with cost. I don't know if anybody knows the cost of anything. So,
I mean, I can't say, I gotta know what it's costing before I know what to charge. Just because it's costing them, they may have a more sophisticated system than we have, surely a more up-to-date system than we have.
yeah.
I'm all for it if it brings 100,000 in, but I don't want to pay 100,000 in cost to do it.
Are we doing it now? Do we allow them to dump in now? Do we allow them to dump in now?
No.
Reason?
Do we allow them to dump now? No, we don't, Jim. But just to echo what the mayor said, is this came up from James, which is our sewer,
Yeah,
licensed sewer holder. And James has said to Jim and I in the same setting and both of us separately that he has no doubts, no problems whatsoever that he can take it on, that we can support it, no problem. And he's kind of the one that sort of, if I remember right, and he didn't tell me this, but I think he said that to a conversation he kind of piloted the Leonard. He got it going in Leonard. So he's the one that kind of piloted this and got it going in Leonard, and it was very, very beneficial for them.
Capacity wise, we're in no danger of, according to what my discussion with James was, we're in no danger of accepting these septic trunks in and us going, overloading the system. The water plant and the sewer plant was built, in the mindset that for growth,
yeah.
It wasn't built just to sustain what we had. It was overbuilt intentionally for growth.
Well, and it's been my experience in the sewer business in other cities that you can't haul in enough volume by truck to really affect the operation of those plants because they're receiving much larger quantities of liquid waste and solid waste through the collection system that's pouring into the plant. As far as just the percentage of volume that's going to be attributable to trucks you haul in, it's going to be pretty small.
Yeah, compared to the capacity level.
Yeah.
You come up with a price map to have the ordinance set back.
So
Yeah,
that-
I think.
So that 8 cents you had a while ago, that's cheaper than anybody else?
8 cents is comparable. If you want to really capture the market around here, which, take gas, for instance.
I'll take that.
There's not one sewer in gas. No, everybody has septic, everybody. And the cold and rainy times of the years are the times that they're pumping them every day.
So where are they having to take that?
They're having to take theirs to Greenville, Leonard, or Kent. That's the only ones that I know.
So are we closer?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know
We're
where- I
in
don't
the
know where
middle
the
of
place
it.
is.
I've already just had a discussion with two septic companies. I haven't talked to Boyd yet. But they're ready. Yeah, let me know when you're open. You start that up, let me know. Cause I'll be dumping there.
Okay, so my question is, at the same price as the cheapest one, are they gonna come here because we're closer?
Yeah, they will, yeah.
So I mean, so what I'm saying is, we don't need to be 2 cents cheaper than Greenville, because they're gonna come here because we're closer. So we need to be the same price, make that 2 cents.
Yeah, or, I mean, if you don't want the market, cut it a penny and, you know, that's a $40 or $4, something like that, you know, that's the only difference in the matter, but.
I mean, you can always go up as the years go on,
Right.
once you get them used to coming.
I'm open to suggestions there.
Well, I say we don't miss any more money from that.
All right, the chair will entertain a motion.
What we voting on, just to do it or rate?
What was the most expensive rate was 8 cents,
10 cents in Canton,
10 in Canton and 8 in Greenville.
8 in Greenville, and I want to say it's around the same price in Leonard.
So let's make ours 7 cents. Okay, that's a penny cheaper. That's $40 on a 4,000 gallon truck. That's worth coming here.
Yeah,
That's $40 worth of diesel.
yeah,
So-
oh, you okay.
So let's make our, I'm gonna make a motion that Jim writes us a,
Ordinance.
ordinance. Dang. I was gonna say resignation, but maybe that's what I'm trying to do, resign. So Jim writes us an ordinance for 7 cents a gallon to dump, the septic trucks in our, city waste.
Okay. Will do.
I'll second the motion.
Kevin Featherston,
Leon, I,
Probably not.
Chris Burkett.
Unanimous.
now, Jim,
Uh-huh.
this money that we're collecting for this dumping,
Yeah.
can it only be used in the water sewer, or can we use it for anything?
Well, it's going to come in on the waters. It's going to come in on the business side of the budget. So you can't necessarily use it for anything, but you can move money from the business side to the governmental side. There's some restrictions on it, but they're the same restrictions we have on all of the revenue from the business side. So generally speaking, you can use it on different things.
So water too, for like, bigger, large repairs that have to be done in the water plant or something?
Absolutely, absolutely. You can spend it in your collection system. You can spend it in your water distribution system. You can spend it in your water making system or your sewer treatment system. You can spend it any of those places. They're all on the business side. You probably, depending on the circumstances, can move part of it to the governmental side. You know, if you want to spend part of it on streets, part of all of our streets are drainage issues. And any utilities that run into the streets, and we have to treat those when we do streets. So, you know, it can be used in a multitude of ways.
oh yeah, we fix lift stations.
You can pay lawyers with it.
Good one, Jim, good one.
Hurry up, we're missing trucks already.
Been asking for the paycheck.
Okay, moving along to section F. I've got a note on this sheet you put in here, and then chapter 7 compensation. Was that an old note?
Up at the top.
Yeah,
Up at
it's
the
very
top.
top.
I just put the heading because I didn't print the whole.
Oh, I got it, I got it,
whole,
I got it,
policy
okay,
map.
I get it. Okay, so we're off to,
That's chapter 7, section compensation.
okay, right now though, 8F is discussion or take action in making personnel policy manual chapter 7 compensation, section 4 overtime, and chapter 15 miscellaneous provisions, section 11 department head listing.
Both
It's
of
the very
them.
next thing after all those water.
The very last item in your packet.
Well, according to this line item, what's the chapter, it says chapter 7 compensation, well, What was that?
section 4, and you were wanting to discuss the overtime.
Was that, overtime or comp time?
Well, overtime is the section, but it's the second paragraph. It says in lieu of paid overtime, the
Oh.
city offers comp time.
Yeah. Huh? I'll just read it off for those who don't have it in front of it. In lieu of paid overtime, the city does offer compensatory time that will repay the employee 1.5 hours of time off for each hour of work over 40 in a week. Your department supervisor will maintain a recording and accounting of comp time and will report that time to the city secretary and the assistant city secretary. Usage of comp time must be approved by the department and supervisor at least 3 days in advance. You must use comp time within 60 days of accumulation, and the employee must claim one on the time sheet. So right now, you can accrue comp time, or the employees can accrue comp time, and accumulate 60 days according to this right now. I think what we had talked about is 30 days, if I'm not mistaken, was it not? And you can't lose it. You either have to take the pay or take the time off, over a certain amount of time, and that's where we were going at with. Y'all have any ideas to that as far as, this is a 2-part agenda, by the way, this line item.
But we don't pay comp time out. We pay it as they request it.
That's what I mean, yeah. I'm sorry I didn't do it in that detail, but if they start to go over the 60 days according to this, and we talked about making it 30 days of comp time, right?
Well, no, it's actually saying it must be,
You have to use
comp
it.
time must be
Yeah.
used within
That-
60 days. You don't accumulate 60 days. You use it within 60 days.
And how much can you take at one time?
If you have 2 weeks and you want to take it and you request it, that's been allowed.
So can a guy take 2 weeks of comp time and his 2 weeks of vacation at the same time? And be gone a whole month?
Have to be approved.
If it's approved, if he has somebody to work in his place.
Cause we're always short of help.
Well, what stirred this a little bit was, and I'm not gonna miss any names or anything, what's done is done is past. But, somebody had hundreds of hours, I wanna say 400 hours or some ungodly amount of
I think it was
time.
300.
Years ago,
We've
they,
had 2 employees that had lots of comp time.
like up to 400 or 500 hours, it was a lot of.
A lot.
That's a long time, so.
Right, and I guess that's what I'm looking at. We don't have in this manual, and I think I've got a copy of one too at home that I looked at a while ago. Chris and I had a discussion about this. We don't have a cap that I've ever seen.
We don't, and that's what we wanted to cap today.
We don't
But
have
yeah,
a.
how many hours can you accumulate?
But doesn't it say here you have to use them in 60 days?
Well,
You
that
have to
does,
use them within 60 days.
but it doesn't claim how many you can, accumulate.
But you can also accumulate, say, one pay, and I use up that time that I have, and then turn around and accumulate more, then you're still gonna keep banking more time if you put it to comp time.
What,
It adds up quick.
what do you
So-
mean, what do you mean if you put it to comp time?
Because say a new employee comes in, they don't automatically get time. And say, hey, I am going to have to be off because I'm gonna have a surgery or something, I need 3 days off. Can I put comp time on the books for that, for my overtime, instead of getting paid my overtime? So that's gonna be banked at time and a half. So I have a book that I keep up with everybody's time. And it's gone, according to each payday.
But they have to work that overtime to get that, right?
Yes, they worked it, and
So
they don't get paid for it at that time that they work it.
So why don't you make it to where they can only take in a week half of whatever the overtime they've got as comp time?
That we really don't have, a rule on it.
Why don't we just pay them and do away with
Hours
the
of
comp
overtime,
time?
you can only take half of it.
Why don't we just pay them and do away with the comp time? Pay them what we owe them. We don't have money sitting on the books that come back to haunt us someday again and again.
Well, overtime is killing us right now. I'll tell you that right now, it is flat killing us. I mean, we're almost over budget in February. We're that close. Same with contractors, like contract labor. We're at 70% of the budget in February, and we still have the rest of the year to pay our water meter reader and the guy that does our reports for the water plant. So we got all this time to go, and we're just, the budget's almost empty. 70% of the budget is used.
Well, like Annette said, it helps them take off for like a surgery or something like that.
Yeah.
But if you made it where they could only take half of what they have in overtime a week as comp time, that at least cuts it in half, what they can accumulate.
So you're saying if they got 40 hours of comp time built up, they can take part of that week, 20 hours?
No, if they work 50 hours a week, they can take 5 hours of comp time and the other 5 are gonna get paid.
Oh, okay.
Instead of banking all of it.
Yeah.
At least cuts it in half of what they can pile up.
But I think what we're all missing here and what we're not following our own manual is the 60 days. Okay? I mean, you gotta put this in perspective. So you've got in 60 days, how many weeks are there?
Well, that's what I said earlier.
Right?
60
That's
days.
just 2 months. Right? So you got 8 weeks. What's the chance of how much overtime? So
What have we been doing wrong all this time?
We're not using it.
Pay out people.
we're not
Yeah.
using it.
So then there's.
We're not using it in 60 days. We're not holding our own rule that we have written right here in black and white.
And that,
If you have comp time, you have to use it within 60 days. So if I get
Yeah.
comp time this week, 2 months from now, I've got to use that comp time. That's but plain, simple.
well, I think the other
That's
part
what
of
it
it,
is.
Where that's created a problem for us is, say somebody's out, they're sick, and you have nobody else to fill in. Do you make that person take off and you don't have nobody working in your water department? That is a problem.
well, the other problem is you can, during it, you work 10 hours of comp time in a week. During that 60 days, you're very prone to accumulate more comp time, to where you end up with 50 or 60 days that you've got to use. Of course, it wouldn't all be due, but whenever it was.
I think we have to put a cap on this comp time. If we're gonna keep comp time, we're gonna put a cap on
Hey, Jim,
Is that on there?
it.
I think there.
Is it? No, it's not in. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's Jim sitting out
Hey,
there.
Jim.
Jim, wake up.
I'm awake. I just couldn't go, it wouldn't let me unmute.
hey, Jim, is it legal to, if they don't use their comp time in 60 days, to take it away from them?
No,
We have to pay for
you have to pay them. Not a
I don't think you can take it away from them. If they've worked overtime, you've got to compensate them.
No.
I think.
I mean, comp time, that's a whole new bookkeeping headache, comp time. I mean, and plus you run the risk of getting yourself in budgetary trouble because you're not spending the money you're actually spending. You're not writing checks for money you're actually spending. I think you're better off paying overtime when you have overtime and trying to address the causes of overtime in your planning. There's when you've got your department, your public works department, and they're in holes digging ditches at 2 o'clock in the morning, trying to fix sewer leaks or water leaks. I mean, you're going to have that kind of overtime there, but you may have to address that by letting people take some time off after they have a 24-hour stint, letting them take a day off or something to offset some of the cost of that. That's just part of the planning and the management of those kind of departments. But if you add comp time, you've got a whole nother level of timekeeping headache. And you don't have a professional HR department to maintain those kind of records.
I have a book.
So, I want to address that right there. So, this is all being kept up in a book.
Yeah.
So, God forbid, this building gets blown away, whatever catches on fire, that book's gone.
That's right.
No matter what we're doing, this has got to be in the computer or something.
Just do away with it.
Just do it.
That's what I think. Do away with comp time.
Whatever's on the books right now, once you get it used, that's it.
You don't get paid on Friday, you just out.
You're gonna help decrease overtime by your department heads flexing their employees when you're able to do it.
Yes.
Yes.
Have two, you know, if you have a bunch of water guys here one day, just using them, and it's pouring rain outside, and they're not doing anything that day, and they worked 5 hours over the day before, send them home.
Send them home.
Exactly.
Send them home.
That's it.
Yeah.
Send them home.
All they have to do is put on their time card.
If he's had overtime and it's pouring rain and I have 2 officers on the shift, I've called him on the phone and say, get out of here. Leave. 3 hours. Go.
So you don't wanna, look at that and cross it out?
100%. Do away with it.
Get rid of it.
Somebody
Do
make
you
a
like
motion.
keeping up with it?
Can we make that?
No.
It's at an overtime rate anyway.
It costs you the same either.
It's gonna cost you the same either way.
But it's actually gonna save money because she's not gonna
Okay,
spend her
okay,
time.
let me
keeping
ask
up
you
with it.
this, what's it gonna do for people that have comp time?
That's what I was
right now?
gonna ask.
Give us
Once
that
it-
pay.
What kind of, where are we sitting with that? What, just roughly?
I've got 600 hours.
No, you don't.
Ooh, I almost passed that.
Well, let's go to vacation. I got a lot of that.
Holy cow, I literally, I was like, what?
I had 120 hours during COVID
Yeah, well, you
from
get
doing the
that.
extra patrol. So what I did with the net is instead of coming in at 7, I came in at 9, so it was all lines.
Okay.
Jim, do we need a resolution for you to ixnay comp time out of our little handy dandy
Can't we
book?
just make an amendment to our policy
We
manual?
you can adopt, you can make an oral resolution right now to amend the personnel policy by taking that provision out. We don't, and then we can we can redraft the personnel policy without that in there going forward. We don't need a formal resolution for this. Your resolution that you make from a speaking resolution will work. Just takes one vote on a resolution.
When I say whatever's in there, we just let them use it, how they've been using it when they need it until it's gone.
And no more added?
No more.
No more added, but you might have somebody, one of these guys in the audience today that knows they have a surgery coming up or something. They have comp time today. If we stop it today, they're still gonna have that accumulated. They could still use that comp time.
Yeah,
Have the surgery, whatever.
whatever's there right now, you can still use it.
Get your 60 days.
And we're not
There's
gonna.
no
turn
more
around and
added
pay it
to
all
it.
out right now.
Right, yeah.
So it's kind of a little payout for us till it's gone, but we're not adding to
Will
it.
that take a headache off of your workload? Yeah.
That comp time,
It's not, is it real?
I still keep up with the vacation in the city. So
Yeah.
that's, you know, that'll just be one less thing that I have
But
to keep up with.
every payday you'll be done. There won't be
Right, make
anything
it-
up with nothing.
I can make a motion that we amend the personnel policy to do away with the comp time.
And I
The
second,
first, the
and
second.
I second that motion.
I thirty,
All in favor?
Kevin Featherston,
Leon Meyer,
Robin Meyer.
Chris Burkett.
Unanimous.
man, that's about a year and, year and,
Year and
3
months, yep.
Okay, but you didn't, we still have one more item
Still
on
may
there.
create a problem.
You have,
Still may create one problem.
you
Big
have,
problem.
you wanted to discuss the department head listing under. the
Right,
policy
that's
manual as
section
well.
4 of, no, I'm sorry, section 11. Department head listing. We are currently out of the city admin Were you able to print those 4 resumes on, for council?
Yeah, it's in
It's
that
in the
other
book,
packet.
okay.
yeah.
It's in that other
So in
packet.
your packet, you have 4 applications. I've only reviewed one of them, didn't look too bad, but I think he's way off. I mean, he's,
Hey,
Can we discuss that? right now?
Jim,
No.
did we
It's not on
consider,
the agenda.
no, but this is part of what we're getting at with the department head list. So what?
oh, okay. I was just asking, are we skipping over the?
No, we're doing that.
Okay, all right,
The
sorry.
the way we're structured right now is with a city administrator. We have no city administrator. So the city secretary, the way it works out, it reports to the city administrator. The police chief reports to the city administrator, or the secretary in the absence of the city administrator. The water and sewer superintendent reports to the city admin or secretary in the absence of the city administrator. And the road superintendent reports to the city administrator or the city secretary in the absence of the administrator. I think until we can get this administrator filled, I think we need to name, and I'm not, we need to have the mayor in there, I guess, in lieu of the city administrator until we fill that position for day-to-day activities. And all major issues are being handled by the council, but I'm talking about just the day-to-day, issues.
So
In and out.
after each one of these, that say city secretary, city administrator, or mayor, which I do anyway.
Yeah. So we would just add mayor in there, and this is up to you guys. I'm just trying to,
I think by statute, doesn't it work that way anyway? No?
The mayor.
You
is the
adjust
chief
by
operating
statute.
Officer of the city, he is in charge of the city.
Jim, do you want to clarify that?
Yeah, this is what you and I talked about, a couple of weeks ago. By statute, it does. Now, at some point in the past, the city of West Tawakoni, I've actually never seen the ordinance that originally created the position of city administrator, but basically what the city did was they pulled the responsibilities, the day-to-day operation responsibilities of the city away from the mayor and gave them, when you decided to go with the administrative form of government, gave those responsibilities to the administrator. And then the way the ordinance is written now, the way the personnel law is written, in the absence of the administrator, the city secretary, those responsibilities fall to the city secretary. What I think the mayor is doing is basically modifying that original ordinance that created that city administrator position and saying, in the absence of the city secretary, in the absence of the administrator, the mayor and city secretary will share that responsibility for all those department heads reporting to the city secretary and the mayor. See what I'm saying?
Okay, yeah.
That makes sense.
But that needs to all be, that's not an ordinance, that's just a retyping of the employee manual.
Well, it depending on how, I mean, technically you amend an ordinance with an ordinance. And I would want to see, before I answer that question, I would want to see the exact language in that original ordinance, how they crafted that language, because I've not seen that.
The
Not right
administrator,
now.
the administrator position ordinance?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah, we can pull that out of the ordinance book,
okay.
but I don't think I think it just says her duties. I don't think it says any of this. It's
Okay,
separate, the personnel manual, the policy manual was separate years ago.
well, we can put this in the policy manual without an ordinance, just with a resolution. That's how we adopt the policy, the personnel policy.
What's the difference? What makes it a resolution versus an ordinance? Money?
No, often ordinances do have penal provisions attached to them, so that is one of the things. It's just a more formalized procedure. When we adopt statutes, when we adopt regulations, when we adopt fees, we put that in ordinance because the ordinances have the effect of like state statutes for a city. They're the permanent laws of the city. And so that really is, when we approve contracts, they don't become permanent laws. That's just a contract, but we do that by resolution. When we adopt policies
Okay,
that we don't attach any type of penal provision to, we do that by resolution. But when we adopt the regulations that control the operation of the city, many of which have penal provisions attached to them, if you're a stop and you don't obey them, we do those by ordinance.
okay. All right, well, thank you for that. All right. Chair will entertain a motion.
Do we make one motion for what we've already?
I think what you want is just a motion that says that you're gonna change the personnel policy so that in the absence of the administrator, the department heads will report to the city secretary and to the mayor, or to the mayor.
In the absence of one, so as soon as one come in, that would take
Right,
back over.
right.
I like,
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah.
yeah, and I'm doing the motions now because I'm actually going on comp time now at this point of the night.
I hear what you're saying.
What'd you say?
I said, I'm helping you speed up the motions now because I'm fixing to go on comp time this late at night.
So I'm gonna make a motion that in the absence of
Amend the-
I'm gonna make a motion to amend the section 11 department head listings in our personnel manual. In the absence of the city administrator or the city secretary, that the mayor would stand in for the other department heads to answer to.
And the other portion of
And then,
Well, we already
We
had.
already did.
We had a motion and a
yeah,
second.
Okay.
we did those.
I don't know.
So I think that takes care of all the way doing that.
I'll second that. I'll second it.
She second, so
Oh, very.
Kevin Featherston,
Down there.
Robin Meyer.
Chris Burkett.
Motion passed. The next one I want to get to, and I think it's much needed for the citizens. A discussion and or take action for possible duties for council members. I would like to see each one of the council members have a task, a job, an extra duty, or something like that, instead of, like in years past, we've had a lot of people that ran for council just to have that title, to have that name. They show up once a month and do this. That's all they do. And if you've got anybody interested in filling this other council position, I do ask that you explain to them that it's not a show up once a month, raise your hand. I want a task. For instance, Robin, I think we need the weapon packet at the front window.
All for it.
I know
Sign
you
me
are.
up.
I know you are.
I figured it would because that was the first thing that came up, and I thought Robin's perfect for that.
Right.
And now, in the beginning, it's gonna seem like full time, but once you get it finished, it's just every time they check, we need to take a number off and run or whatever. The other idea was, roads, somebody to do, check on the roads south of, 276. And then maybe somebody take over north 276. Those two collaborate and determine which road needs the attention first. Because we're getting ready to start working on these roads. We're gonna start, I'm hoping in like the next couple of weeks, but the weather may not allow us to do that. But as soon as we have another clear weather, I wanna start on rocking some of these roads. We'll wait a little bit till it warms up to do oil sand patching. But I think we need some different tasks or responsibilities that council members have. So there's not just a couple of people doing everything to raise their hand every month. Do y'all have any suggestions?
Yeah.
I want to be Robin's assistant.
Well, the other one was clean up, and that would kind of, clean up would sort of go a little bit lean in their person, they would maybe communicate would be code, right? So clean up, And I think the other idea that we had was,
Park.
the park, so
I'll take that.
our idea was,
So we
no,
all
you don't
do-
get that one.
Huh?
Our idea was, I mean, I think, I know somebody fits good with that one, because the welcome packet's going, she's gonna get that done in like a couple of days.
Well, she can help me with the bar.
Uh,
Tell me what to do anyway.
Can I make one comment on,
Yeah, sure.
on what, the way you presented this? Okay. Kevin, I think I've talked to you, and I know I've talked to you, Mayor, about this. I've got cities where different council members basically volunteer to take over with her. And then once they volunteer, the council assigns them the position to be responsible for what you're talking about, monitoring the condition of the streets and helping city staff determine what needs to be done on them. And you can do it in all these other areas, parks, everything. That's fine. What we can't do, and what we're not legally allowed to do, is to compel anyone on that council to take any of those jobs if they don't want to. And let me tell you why. Because state law and the general law city has defined what qualifies a person to be on a city council. And we can't create additional qualifications. We don't get to tell people. The only time that someone resigns, if you gave them a job and they didn't want to do it and you said you're not on the council anymore, we don't have that authority. We don't have that power.
Right.
State law defines who's on the council and what their qualifications are. Anyone who wants to volunteer for those things, absolutely. You let them have them, and you can approve that, but you can't compel it.
Okay.
Well, as far as like the welcome packet idea, as
Well,
far
I'm
as the
out.
welcome packet idea is concerned, even if I was not reelected to the council, that would be something that I would be willing to carry over.
Yeah.
So is that it?
So
You know,
basically, he's asking.
There's absolutely no problem with that. And if the council wants to, if the next council wants to keep you doing it and you volunteer to do it, they absolutely can. Absolutely, no
He
problem.
just saying that we can't dictate it.
I'm just saying that if
Yeah.
you say place one, you have to always be responsible for streets. Well, the next person elected to place one might not want to do anything except come to the meetings,
Maybe they shouldn't.
you know?
Gotcha.
And I'll say that publicly, I don't care.
Right.
Maybe they shouldn't have ran.
What I had was park cleaned up.
Hey,
road.
I can't do the road because it's dark when I leave and it's dark when I get home.
And I forgot exactly what our conversation about that was.
I think
You know
it's,
specific.
well, it's just, it's cleanup. It's everything that, in my thoughts, that this is sort of a visual thing. The only thing that wasn't visual was gonna be the welcome packet. The only reason why we talked about that was, did you say that in the forum?
Yeah, what?
You said something about a welcome packet in the forum?
You know, we had a-
I know you did. And because when it was brought up, I'm like, wrong.
They can't.
Oh, yes, it is.
Okay, I
Yeah,
thought you did.
because that's part of promoting our
Right.
city.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
I
why,
thought you
that's
did.
why,
So-
right, exactly.
The cleanup was just, I mean, it's a visual thing. I mean, so are the roads and so is the park, right? And so it's a visual thing. It's not like it wasn't tasks that were just, just drawing tasks that people are gonna have to really work, a whole lot, because not everybody is gonna be able to do that. We have jobs.
Well, and most of it's just coming back and telling, that the city needs to.
Yep.
To look at this.
Right, that's exactly right.
And make a recommendation that you go. fix it.
Well, something else you might want to add to that too, that I presented at the candidate forum was, say, I'm done with the welcome packet and I have a protocol and it's in place and I do have resources and things that I can contact to get things to go in it. So once that's done and in place and I can put them together really quick and bring them up here, I would love to see a committee to study that comprehensive plan that I got. Do you remember when I talked about that?
Yeah.
I would love to see a committee be formed on that, and I want to be a part of that if that happens. I don't exactly want to have to chair it. I would if I had enough people that would get involved in it. But I think in order for this city to move forward, we've got to start looking at doing something, getting some ideas and things on how to move it, forward in another direction.
Right.
Long-term plan.
Well, Mayor, I think I don't know if we're gonna be able to just put something in place. We may have to really sit down as a group and come up with this and make sure it's not just
Right.
I don't want it to be a bird shot, you know? what I mean?
Right, yeah, no, I understand.
So
Like I said, the whole thing was just an idea anyway.
maybe for the moment, we may have to table this and we're going to schedule a meeting where we can all be together and really dig down and talk about it. And then we bring it back from our workshop and say, okay, now we really, really fine tune our task.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
yeah.
Is
perfect.
this, Jim, is this something we even got to vote on, or can we just all agree to do something and go do it?
You can all agree to do something if, for instance, you're gonna let one of you be responsible for streets, and you don't want every little thing to come back to council, when we could create an ordinance or a resolution says Kevin's gonna be authorized for streets, and for minor things, he can spend up to $350, $400 as long as it's within budget. You know, it doesn't have to come back.
We get a budget?
Well, I mean, we have a budget for streets. We have a budget, and if he's sending someone out to work on streets, you need to define what the authority is going to be. He could, if he's got the ability to go ahead and make the decisions for the whole budget amount, that's fine. If that's the responsibility you're given, we would need to define that. But if for those kind of things, no. If you're going to run parks, I mean, typically park decisions come to the entire council. If somebody's going to be responsible for that, let's define what that parameter of responsibility is and define when it comes back to council and when that person handles it.
I'm just saying, if we vote on something like that, aren't we just going against what you just said? We can't make them do it?
No, we're not making them. You're volunteering for it. We're defining what the job is going to be that you're volunteering for.
So it's
We can't make you do the job, but if you're willing to do the job, here's the way we see the job.
okay, so it's kind of like you be in charge as long as you do what I say.
Well, kind of, yeah. It's not exactly like that, but
I have a question for you, Jim.
okay.
Say, I'm kind of coming back to the welcome packet thing, because my mind is going 100 miles an hour. I know that the city has, I believe we have budgeted money in there for advertising and promoting and marketing.
Sure.
Would that be something that I would be able, as a council member, to utilize?
If we set the parameter to allow you to have those budgeted funds, yeah.
And it would have to meet with the other councilors' approval, correct?
Well, that's what we would define is what your parameters were. If you were authorized to spend up to so much money for welcome packets and that kind of thing, then you wouldn't have to come back every time you needed stationery.
Okay.
And just what we need to do is table it pending a workshop.
Yeah.
And get a workshop set up. I make a motion, we table item 9 or item 8E pending a workshop.
I second that.
All in favor?
Kevin Featherston.
Leon Meyer.
Robin Myers.
Chris Burkett.
That's unanimous. Is there any additional citizens input over?
I make a motion to adjourn. Kevin Featherston.
Leon Meyer.
Robin Myers.
Chris Burkett.
Good night. Thanks, Leanne. Good job.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Jim.
You worked really well.
Your check's in the mail.
Thanks.